Good morning, everyone. In today's class, we will be paying attention on comprehensive analysis of labor reforms. The reason why I have taken this particular topic is, as we all know, in the recent past, just a month before, states like Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Odisha, Goa, Punjab. These are the states. They made some changes to their state specific labor laws via the route of ordinance. Okay. And on one side, the states who made changes, they justified the reasons like they are for enhancing employment opportunities, increasing employment opportunities, and increasing the growth rate in the country so that we can revive back. So these are the reasons mentioned by these states. But there are individuals who are criticizing they neglected workers' rights, and these reforms did not properly followed the legal aspects, like first sending to the committees, after that discussing about it directly via the route of ordinance. Most of the state government passed it, so this is not fair. So there is this kind of criticism also. So now I felt, as this issue is burning and interesting, why can't we have a broad analysis with respect to the labor force in the country? So in that context, I made some subheadings. If you see the lecture goes like this. First, we will be defining what exactly labor force means. Then we will go for labor laws. Do we have any constitutional provisions, or do we have any labor laws? What is the statutory setup with respect to labor laws in the country and the labor structure? So we have labor classification like organized, unorganized. Then challenges to labor laws. Why, after having these many labor laws, why we could not able to implement them effectively? And what are the recent issues with respect to labor laws? Next is, why do we need them? What is the way forward? So this is the whole structure. In this way the lecture will be going on. First, if you take the first one, before going into the labor reforms, what exactly labor reforms means, I would like to provide a definition. Every time we hear about these two subtle words, there is a very little difference between these two words, labor force and workforce. Just remember this one. Labor force means the individuals who got graduated, and either they got employed or they are still seeking for employment. See, sometimes after getting graduated, I don't seek employment, I will try for higher studies. Okay, so then those people will not be coming under the labor force. So labor force means they are the one either in the employment or getting ready for employment. So this is what we call as labor force participation rate. So workforce means within the labor force, how many of the labor force are actually working? They are getting employed. This is what we call as workforce. So workforce is subset of labor force in simple terms. Working population means, suppose if you see working population ratio, how you will take this? So the total population of the country and the number of population, the amount of population who got employed. Employed persons by total population is called as working population. In a similar way, unemployment rate. What is unemployment rate? Total unemployed population to the labor force. So here you have to understand the subtle difference. Unemployment rate means within the labor force, how many number of population they got unemployed. This is what we call as unemployment rate. Pre 2000, sorry, this pre COVID-19, the unemployment rate that was mentioned by this periodic labor force survey. It is a survey that will be released by National Statistical Organization under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Okay. So, according to this periodic labor force survey given by National Statistics Organization, pre-COVID-19, the unemployment rate is around it's hovering around 6%, around 5.8 to 6%. But right now, the unemployment rate is 27%. It's almost like a fourfold increase. Okay, so these are some basic terms first we should know. Because when you are trying to get a comprehensive analysis about these labor reforms, first we should have this basic idea. Who is this working population? Working population, just I told you, employed population by total population. Okay, unemployment rate. So these are the basic terms with respect to land labor laws. Then come to the constitutional provisions with respect to labor laws in the country. Do we have any constitutional provisions? If at all, what are they? As you all know, the first two fundamental rights, Article 23 and Article 24, they are the rights against exploitation. Article 23 deals with abolition of bonded labor. Okay, there is a concept called as beggar, bonded labor. So Article 24, it deals with abolition of child labor. So we have fundamental rights, two fundamental rights. One is with respect to bonded labor, second one is with respect to child labors. In the similar way, we have another article called as Article 43A. It got inserted by amending the Constitution in its 42nd time, the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, through which we added another article called as Article 43A, under which to allow the workers to participate in the industrial activities. Sometimes the center can direct the states. Okay. That is about Article 43A. Next, we have this Schedule 7. Schedule 7 deals with union list, state list, concurrent list. Who has to do what work? So when it comes to labor, labor is in the concurrent list. Concurrent list means with respect to labor, the laws can be made by the center as well as by the states. So both center and the states can make laws with respect to the labor in the country. So this is with respect to the constitutional provisions. Next is in what way we actually categorized. See why I am giving this particular information right now itself. Recently, government came up with this idea of labor code. Ministry of Labor came up with the idea of labor code. They already codified all the laws. All the labor laws got codified into four divisions: Code 1, Code 2, Code 3, Code 4. Okay, but still it's in the pipeline, things not fully implemented. So sooner than later, we are expecting that the labor code will be implemented. But what is the labor code right now is they divided the whole labor laws into four categories. First one is the labor laws with respect to conditions of work. Conditions of work means here we will be dealing with safety, security. That is with respect to the conditions of work. Second one is wages. So what should be the wage? What should be the salary? What should be the remuneration with respect to the given work? That is under the category two. And the third category is social security. Social security means whether the individuals, those who are getting employed, whether they are having health insurance, okay, whether they got any accident insurance, or they got any other medical or any financial related help. So these all will be coming under the social security aspect. Suppose for example, once you got selected to any of the governmental job, by default you will be getting the social security. Social security means here you will be getting financial security, you will be getting health security, you will be getting food security. All these will be combinedly called as social security. Then we have this, the fourth category is employment security and industrial relations. So here it is with respect to to what extent the employer and the employee should maintain the relation, the bonding. Okay, so how to reduce the disputes. So these aspects will be coming under the fourth category. So in that way, all the labor laws in the country right now we divided into four categories. Now I will be taking category by category and you can see the examples here. Suppose see the first one. With respect to conditions of work, that means the safety conditions, and suppose for example if one contract laborer got appointed, what are the rights of the contract laborer, how long they can work, what is the severance package. Severance package means Once you are not, from tomorrow onwards, if you are not allowing the laborer to come and work in your organization, you have to settle the pay, at least for a month, for the next whole month, or for the next 2 months. Next is that comes under the Contract Laborer Regulation and Abolition Act. Next is Shops and Commercial Establishments Act. Under the Shops and Commercial Establishments Act, it will provide standards. What kind of shops in what region? Okay, suppose for example, where the shop should be located. Okay, all those kind of permissions, regulations will be coming under the fourth category. So these all are with respect to conditions of work. Second is wages. So we have way back in 1936 we have this Payment of Wages Act. How we have to pay? Shall we pay either in cash or in kind or or in digital form? Okay, or we have these DDs, demand draft checks. In what way the wages or the salaries has to be provided? What should be the minimum wage? So these all will be dealt under these acts: Minimum Wages Act and Payment of Wages Act. And next is social security. As I told you, social security means health security, food security, financial security. Okay. So these all will be coming under social security. So for that we have this in under the Ministry of Labor, we have this EPFO, Employee Provident Fund Organization. It was created by an act, EPF Act 1952. So we have this EPFO. The very purpose of this EPFO is providing, suppose for example, like security at the workplace, like what are the conditions of the work, and it under the EPF, what will happen? Everyone certain amount of salary will be deducted. Later, when the employee suppose uh, resign from that particular position, okay, then the money that got saved under the EPF fund, so that will be useful. That will be useful for this individual as a backup. Okay, so for that we have the CPF Act, and second one is workman compensation. If at all, if the workman met with any accident, or if because of any other related reasons, if the workman is could not able to work, or you are you want to reduce your workforce, so with that reason you are laying off certain employees. In that case, we have to provide certain amount of compensation to them. Next is we have this ESI, Employee State Insurance. So through which both central and the state governments will provide insurance coverage to the people. So this is social security aspect. Then comes this relation between employer and the employee with respect to, like here what you call this human relations approach. How to reduce the disputes, in what way we have to strengthen the standards. So for those things, we have the fourth one, Industrial Disputes Act and Industrial Establishment Standing Order Act. So these all are the classification of labor laws. Next is labor structure. What if you see the labor structure, then you can simply classify labor two types. What are those two types? Organized labor and unorganized labor. Organized category and unorganized category. What is organized and what is unorganized? If you come to know about unorganized, then it will be easy for you to know about organized. Unorganized means the labor force, those who are working in unlicensed, unregulated, self-employment economic activities. So they won't be reporting to anybody. The place where they are working, it is not licensed. It is not regulated by any governing authority. And most of the employment is under the self-employment. They are not working under anyone. So this is what we call as unorganized. So on the opposite, organized means in a licensed, regulated, organization driven employment. So this is what we call as organized sector. So organized and unorganized. But the thing in India right now, according to National Sample Survey Organization, according to NSSO, 94% of the Indian labor force is in unorganized sector. You have to underline this point. 94 percentage of the Indian labor force is in the unorganized sector. That's why labor reforms means immediately what we have to think is like we have to pay attention on the unorganized sector. That we have to convert into organized sector. So that's why now within the unorganized sector, let us categorize. Let us categorize the unorganized sector again on the basis of occupation, on the basis of nature of employment, on the basis of their distress sections, and next one is service. So occupation wise, if you see unorganized means you will be seeing the list: agricultural farmers, fishermen, artisans, weavers, okay, leather workers, construction workers, all on the basis of occupation, brick-in workers. Okay, so on the basis of occupation, uh, unorganized employment, it can be understood like this. That's why here most of these activities, like you can see self-employed and unlicensed, unregulated activities. That's why here the risk also is very much high because not much of social security. So next one is nature of employment. So nature of employment here we have this in an unorganized sector, mostly casual laborers, contract laborers, and migrant laborer. Sometimes bonded labor. Though we abolished bonded labor, but still there is an existence of it. So nature of employment in unorganized sector is mostly casual labor. Casual labor means morning they will come, evening they will go, no responsibility. Contract labor for a time being, for 10 days they will take the contract and they will work. Next, migrant laborer. So in search of opportunities, people are moving from one place to another place. Bonded laborer, permanently working under the feudal lords. Okay, so this is nature of employment. Next, distressed ones. So within the unorganized, certain sections are they're highly distressed, like scavengers, toilet tappers. Okay, those who carry these loads. Okay, these rickshaw pullers. Okay, and these loaders, unloaders. So they all will be coming in distressed section. Next is majority in the surveys. So in different categories, midwives. Okay, midwives in the health sector, domestic workers, newspaper vendors, vegetable sellers, push carts, fruit sellers. They all into the service sector category. Again, each one got a correlation here. Okay, so what are the major issues with respect to these things? Major thing is migration is one issue. Exploitation, main thing. See, because these people, these pushcart operators, those who will sell these vegetables and all, they will be there because there is no proper organized space for them. Every time they have to take the burden from these police officials. The reason they don't have any licenses. They are in completely into the unorganized sector. So they will only just get the daily wages. That's it. And that's the reason mostly they will get exploited. They will be going towards these money lenders. They will give the loans at higher interest rates. These people cannot pay back eternal debt, and most chances of this child labor also. So because every individual in the family has to work, so that's why children also won't be going to the schools. They will be ending up as laborers. So these are the major issues with respect to this. Okay, next, challenges. What are the challenges with respect to implementation of labor laws in the country? As we just now discussed, majority of the country's labor force right now is in the unorganized sector, 94%. And in unorganized sector, though we have the labor laws, but there will be high fluctuation of wages. For men one wage, women another wage. So within that also again, if locals one wage, outsiders another wage. And there is no time limit for work. And there is no social security. If at all, if any mishap happens, and the money has to come from the pocket of the victim. So a highly unorganized, dominant unorganized sector. So this is the first challenge. Why in India we could not able to effectively implement the labor laws. First point. Second point is this one, multiplicity of labor laws. As I told you right now, until if you do not codify all the labor laws into these four categories, wages category, social security category, industrial safety and industrial relations. As of now, we have more than 150 state laws and 50 central laws. And labor is in the concurrent list. States will have their own laws, center will have its laws. Because lack of coordination, cascading effect. Cascading effect means one law will have its impact on another one. Eventually, because of lack of coordination, delays in decision making, poor implementation. This is with respect to the laws. So this is the reason why the labor laws are not effectively getting implemented. Next is trade unions. So we have this Trade Union Act 1926. So more whenever if the government comes up with pro-industry policy, then immediately the trade unions will come and they will start protesting. So immediately they will say that it is against the people. You are actually taking the side of the business, not towards the side of the people. Then they will start hesitations. So due to these hesitations and protests, government also sometimes has to listen to these people. So slowing the decision making process. Next is highly gender inequality. Gender inequality is quite high. See the workforce participation. Participation of men 71%, participation of women 22%. Okay, so there is too much of gender gap in terms of men participation in the workforce and women participation in the workforce. So this is another challenge. Next is labor force quality, skill development. Though the labor force is coming up, but they are not able to reach to the demand up to the demand. The reason, they do not have the specific skill set. They haven't developed these kind of vocational training. Then they haven't done serious internships. So eventually they ended up with the lack of effective skills. So this is also, though we have the labor force participating, but still it is not able to converting into generating demand. That means employment opportunities. So now, why do we need them? Why do we need the labor reforms? As you can see here, definitely because the majority of the labor force right now is in the unorganized sector. The first thing is we have to convert that into organized sector. So for that we have to reform. So we have to codify the laws because we need to provide social security also. We have to increase, we have to strengthen the country's growth. So to streamline minimum wages. Okay. So for all these things to happen, we need labor reforms. Reforms at the law level. So recently some states they went for this reform process, especially by passing of this ordinance. The most famous one is UP one. Except few labor laws, all labor laws got given exemption for the industry for 3 years. For 3 years, except this Bonded Labor Act and Minimum Wages Act, rest of all the acts, they were given permission. No labor law will be applicable for 3 years. The reason they mentioned is like we want to revive back the economic activity. So for that we have to generate employment. If the employment has to be generated, investors has to come. If the investors has to come, we have to relax the labor laws. So that was the justification given by the UP. Okay. Next is Madhya Pradesh. In Madhya Pradesh, what they did, this is the most common thing after lot many states did, increasing the number of working hours. Okay. So increasing the number of working hours per day from 8 hours to 12 hours, per week from 48 to 72 hours. Okay. So at the same time, restrictions are just judicial restrictions like there won't be any labor courts interference in the industrial activities and 1 day permission for industry, this clearance of the projects. So like Gujarat, Karnataka, these states also did the same. But one thing here, what we have to remember is, though we can come up with reforms, but ultimately it has to generate employment. There is a criticism with respect to this. What they are saying, first thing, in a very hurry-burry manner, by taking COVID-19 emergency into consideration, they passed the ordinances without following the what you call legal scrutiny. First, it should go to the parliamentary standing committee or the state level standing committees. First, it should be scrutinized. And then after that, after scrutinizing, then there should be discussion on it. But without following due deliberations, in a very hurry-burry manner, they went for these labor reforms. That to see, if you increase the number of working hours, if you increase the number of working hours, actually it is going against creating employment. Because rather than allowing one individual to work for 12 hours, if you provide shift system, 5 hours one individual, 5 hours one individual, 5 hours one individual. So three individuals will be getting employed at a very less time. Like the duration, the amount with the working hours also will be less. So that is good for the individual worker safety also. But rather than doing that, so here they have increased the what you call working hours per day. So that's why it is looking like a biased one. It may give favor to the industry, but it actually exploits the worker. So this is another example. So these are the recent issues with respect to the labor reforms. Though the intention is fine to reform, but the challenge is while reforming, again it is creating a challenge to the worker than providing benefits to him or her. So next, the concerns, as I told you, it is at the cost of workers' rights, growth at the cost of workers' rights, and labor laws just changing the labor laws won't be giving anything. Just by changing a labor law will not enhance the growth. If the growth has to be enhanced, then we have to provide skill enhancement, we have to provide financial support, we have to provide land. So these are the other things that are very much essential. So without that, simply changing and adding by giving specific changes, it won't be an effective labor reform. That is the criticism with respect to the recent changes made by some states with respect to labor laws. So then finally, what should be the way forward? In what way we can provide we can change the labor laws so that that is beneficial not only for the industry but also for the workers. So here the first one is codifying the labor laws. So as I told you, the labor code consisting of four divisions. One is the wage division, second one is security division, third one is safety division, fourth one is industrial relations. Wage, safety, security, industrial relations. So this is the labor code. So coming in the coming days ahead, it will be implemented. And the second, this is most important one. We should have a national policy for domestic workers because majority of the daily wages right now are actual domestic workers. More than 25% of them. Okay, so there need to be a policy for the domestic workers. Same is the case with the national policy for these migrant workers. Okay, and we have to give importance to this women participation in the workforce. So women-centric initiatives like we have this Maternity Benefits Act, we increased from 12 to 26, and we have this act against uh, sexual harassment at workplace. So this act has to be implemented strictly. So along with that, right now we have this minimum wage. This minimum wage is limited only to very specific sectors. It should be to all. There should be a minimum wage for all the sectors. And government must, like with respect to the workers' welfare, certain amount has to be allocated. Okay, like the recent some of the concessions being provided to the EPF Act. So to this EPFO, like government taking the cost. So these kind of initiatives. So providing relaxation to the employer. Actually, employer has to provide half. Employee will provide half. This amount will be saved with the government under EPFO. But recently, government provided some concessions like it will bear the cost of the employer. So if some of the initiatives like for the workers' welfare, if the government takes up, then that would be nice. And the next is, this is the most important one, social security. As you know, most majority of the people in the country itself that doesn't have the health insurance, 84% of them. Okay, and majority of them, those people, especially who are those who are working in the factories. So there must be provided the proper social security to them. Okay. Next is by providing this vocational education, training on basic skills, so that majority of the people will be getting, like they will be getting these skills, the basic skills that are required. It not only enhances the, it enhances this quality, but also the not quantity, but also the quality. It enhances both quantity plus quality. Quantity means more number of people if they're getting skilled. It increases the demand. At the same time, if you provide effective skill that is required for a specific job, that enhances the quality of the job also. Okay. Next is setting standards for lab inspection system. It's a bureaucratic one. So immediate, like rather than uh, delaying the decision making, there should be timely decision making. So within how many days one thing has to be completed, and how many lab inspections they are doing. Do we have any corruption related challenges or not? So those things we can be discussed like under the lab inspection system. Next is, this is the most important one. This is the recommendation given by the Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog in its India at the rate 75 report gave this recommendation. There need to be labor information marketing system. So across the country, we should have a database of the labor, like how many of them are the migrants, how many of them are employed, how many are unemployed, how many are doing the apprenticeship, how many are actually under which what kind of training, what kind of skill we are in shortage. So by taking this whole information, we should have a labor information marketing system. So this can be useful to get data. So with this data, we can come up with a effective policy making. So like that, so labor reforms, they should come in all these aspects, with respect to the social security, with respect to the wages, with respect to the safety, with respect to the relations, industrial relations. So in all these divisions, on one side, it should strengthen the growth. On the other side, it should also protect the rights of the worker. So without protecting the rights of the worker, if we keep on paying attention only to the growth, then for a country like India with 94% of its labor force is in unorganized sector, it it won't create any, it will create a lot of challenges rather than creating opportunities. So that's why now the time has come to reform the labor laws by balancing both growth and rights of the labor. So with that, I am concluding the topic. Thank you.